Leah and Bethanne of She Will Rock You Pod are back as we conclude the trilogy of trilogies in the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker. Coming up next. Fellow human nerds, it is Thursday, January 20th, 2022. Welcome to episode 76 of Lights, Thunder, Action. Every week, two Thunder buddies discuss all things Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester, and today, Leah and Bethanne of She Will Rock You Pod will be on in just a moment to rekindle and conclude the trilogy of trilogies as we dive into the Rise of Skywalker. But first, we are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our LightsThunderAction Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/LightsThunderAction. All one word, no hyphens, no spaces. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you don't want to look at our ugly mugs or my ugly mug, and you want to listen to our beautiful voices, then you can find our audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and our hosting site, Spreaker. And I mean, while you're there, just make sure you follow and subscribe on those platforms and leave a 5-star review if you're feeling extra generous. Your support means the world to us. And if you ask questions, I will answer them. Maybe there'll be a serious answer. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Yes. But now, the millennial queens of rock history themselves, co-hosts for She Will Rock You podcast, Leah Jones and Bethanne Tarpley.
I made a different face this time.
I know. I was watching your direction because I knew we couldn't do the same face.
It's impressive. It's about time. Oh, I'm sorry. It's about time. Yes. How y'all doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Living the dream. Watch some Star Wars. Leah, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say doing good. Freezing to death out here. It's like 19 degrees for some stupid reason.
Oh, wow. That's terrible.
And it rained today, so everything's frozen.
Yeah.
That's extra unfortunate. It rained today here in Florida, but it's not going to be frozen. I mean, it could be tomorrow, actually.
Not 19 degrees.
Not going to be 19, but we've been inching around 32 for a couple weeks in the morning.
Wow.
That's cold for Florida.
It's very cold. It snowed over in Okaloosa County, which is west of where I live, but east of Pensacola, in case you're wondering.
Didn't you guys get like a tornado warning randomly like a few weeks back? Or maybe it's just Tampa.
No, I think there was there were tornado warnings on my way back from Tampa, actually.
Yeah.
It was New Year's Day number 2. So January 2nd, I guess, would be the date. New Year's Day number 2. My last vacation day before the week. So I think before we hopped on, Bethanne said that she had a dream she wanted to tell the world about.
So if you are a follower of the She Will Rock You world, you may be aware that I tend to have the shit craziest dreams as thanks to my Lexapro prescription. And here I come with another banger of a dream, if you will. And so the dream went that I asked Thomas, who, mind you, is probably about, 500 miles away from me, Virginia to Florida. And I asked him to babysit my dogs. Why? Yes. I do not know. But I assumed you were coming to Virginia to babysit them. No, but you took only Rhodey to Florida with you and brought him to a construction site job. And you gave him a little construction hat and sent me a picture. And I said, Thomas, he's gonna die. Like I was I was so mad. And then I went to Leah, and Leah's like, no, I got him back. He's fine. And then I go to Leah's house. She goes, never mind. He's in Florida. And I was like, what?
I'm glad I was
But-
not helpful at all in the stream.
But Rhodey was very cute in his construction hat in my dream.
We have a
was
mini hard
adorable.
hat at work. We can get a picture of him in it.
Oh, he would look great in it.
It's made for a toddler, but it'll fit his head.
It'll fit
Oh,
just
yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah, he's a
So there you
decent-sized
go.
dog. That's a great
Oh,
dream.
yeah.
You know
That's
what's
the dream.
funny is I definitely travel to dog sit for people, so
Do you?
I will. Yeah, if you're paying, I will definitely do it.
That's a long way to travel.
Yeah, it's usually if we do like a week, we may give someone like $100. So like, you know, it
Maybe
may
not for
cover
me.
your plane ticket.
No, it wouldn't. Not even in the 60s.
true.
It probably would have in the 60s. So let's go ahead and dive into the trilogy of trilogies.
Stories are told brilliantly, opinions are viewed differently. We bring them all together when you get this great soliloquy. When Trinity leaves affinity, our co-host eyes left Mr. Lee. We present you with another round of the Trilogy of Trilogies.
Yeah. That was fun. So, spoiler-free thoughts, right? We'll start off spoiler-free, and then we're gonna dive right into the spoilers, and we're gonna probably tangent town around this movie because I'm guessing all of our least favorite movie in the trilogy.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for the future, ladies and gentlemen. It's our least favorite. So let's start with Leah. What did you think of the Rise of Skywalker?
When I saw this for the first time, like in the heat of the moment, sitting in a theater full of Star Wars fans, and we had waited 2 years for this to come out, I enjoyed it. And then I went back on Christmas Day and I watched it a second time, and I kind of left with a feeling of like, what the hell was that? And now that I've spent, 4 years, 3 years on anti-Rise of Skywalker Twitter, it has tarnished my opinion quite a bit. It's not as bad as I remembered it being. It still is rough and clunky, but it does have some moments that I was like, oh, okay, like this moment makes this movie worth a watch if I forget the rest of the parts.
Bethanne, what about you?
That's a very fair assumption. I mean, when I first saw it, I was annoyed with the direction, kind of like what we talked about Jedi. You know, I love good anti-reveals. And then, JJ did what JJ does and put 10 billion mystery boxes in the movie. But besides that, when I went back and watched it, because this was maybe my second time seeing it, like I only saw it once and I was like, pass. When I went back and see it to watch it this week, I definitely saw some gooder moments I kind of forgot that were actually pretty nice to see. But it's just, for me, it's fine. It's just fine. And it would have been acceptable to be just fine if it was not the last movie in the trilogy. If this was like a middle one, I would be more okay with it. But because this is the third one, I think that's why it left such a bitter taste in my mouth, so to speak.
That makes sense. I'm in the exact same boat for the most part. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved it the second time I saw it. I didn't feel so great the third time I saw it.
Yeah.
And then I just stayed away from it and I sat with it and I'm like, there's a lot that just doesn't make sense. And the Dominic Monaghan of it all.
I forgot that he was in it, like, at all. And you kept mentioning that, and I was like, what was he talking about? And then the first line, I was like, oh, now I remember. Go
Yeah,
away.
exactly. They could have given those lines to Rose, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, or literally anybody else.
Literally anybody else. Exactly. But then there are amazing parts, and I definitely cried when the movie's been out for a little while, kids, but spoiler alert real fast. When they did the Chewie bits, everything with Chewie gives me tears. Oh my God. When they did the thing and then they undid that thing. Talk about a redeeming move right there.
Classic
and then
JJ.
Classic JJ. We'll get into that. I have a couple notes and different places calling it the no stakes death film. But I also soured on it aggressively, and you can hear I'm still a little sour on it, but it is so much better than I give it credit for.
Yeah.
The anti Rise of Skywalker Twitter and people, you know, we all have our issues with it, but at the end of the day, it's still Star Wars. And some of the best bits, you know, like when Babu Frick shows up at the end, and he's like, hey, let's go! Like, I'm watching it over here on my iPad, getting ready before I took a quick shower, and then I'm like, oh, Babu Frick, I forgot about that. Let's go. And then more stuff, but I'm about to drop in the bigger spoilers. Definitely my least favorite of them all, of this trilogy. Not my least favorite of them all at all. Attack of the Clones.
It's still better than the Clone War movie.
That's not a movie, okay? That's
well, it counts. It's still better than that.
That's the most unfortunate thing, is that they put the first 4 episodes of a TV series into a movie theater, and then the last 4 episodes of that series is a movie, and they don't put it in the theater.
Agreed.
Damn it, Disney. And damn it, Fox. At the same time, Foxing it up as always, man. Just like Silver Surfer and Galactus Dust. But Galactus, that's nice. But we're gonna hop into the plot. Kylo lays waste on Mustafar. Then a Falcon does light speed jumping in a fun sequence, and then I have Dominic Monaghan, because apparently that's what stuck out the most. And then the next part, not the whole, you know,
not somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, not that. No, but that didn't stick out. No, but just how does Dominic Monaghan know the secrets of the Sith?
That's a good question. Maybe he's the mole.
Damn it. He's the real Palpatine. Dominic Palpatine. Yeah, he has the line of, you know, the secrets of the Sith, cloning, all that. And I'm like, okay, Charlie, how'd you learn that one? Did we even get his name in this movie? Not to look at the credits. He has a speaking role, but no name. And then there's Rose, who gets 5
lines
shots in the movie. Maybe?
I think 3 lines. Yeah.
Well, she has 3 in the planning sequence, which was clunky. Not her, just itself. I mean, the actors do great, which is the shocking part. I think that's why it didn't stand out. We'll get there. We'll get there. And then next we have the festival that leads to the obelisk underneath the serpent. So that a lot has happened in this film. Has anything stood out at this point in the film that you've clutched onto prior to the escape from the escape from the serpent's quarters?
They fly now.
They fly now.
They fly now.
Hey, you're supposed to say they fly now. She doesn't return to the pod.
No.
Dang it.
No, I do not. Sorry.
It's a running gag. They do fly now.
They do fly now. Which
that line was so unnecessary.
And now I love it. So
it's funny in hindsight.
Shout out Return to the Pod for, well, it's also because of just at the very end when you're like, they're still going on. Poe's like, they fly now. And it's like, oh, Poe is all of us in this moment.
He really is.
Ow, my wrist. You know, it's funny because we're really not a fan of Rise of Skywalker. And I feel like our friends at Return of the Pod would be very upset hearing all this.
They probably would be.
That's okay. I have good notes. It's after.
Yeah.
Like, it's when we get to Endor is when my good notes start picking up.
Yes, I agree.
On a serious note, I do love the opening scene with Kylo on Mustafar. That's like pure Adam right there. His just like, let's beat the shit out of some Sith. I think they just gave him a lightsaber and said go, is how I feel like that scene was written, because it's so physical.
Yeah that is great. And then the next sequence, I want to say the first 4 scenes of this movie are bangers, and then it gets into the exposition, and it's like, oh, I wish we would have just went through this speed race of everything that we were doing. But in that light speed jumping, light speed skipping.
Mhm.
Oh man, what a heart pounding sequence, especially in IMAX. Oh my god. A lot of fun. It really amps it up and it really sets it off. Like we're going to go on a Star War, man. We're going on a Star War.
It's also kicks off the fact that, like, I remember seeing this for the first time. You didn't breathe for 2.5 hours. Like, this movie is so fast. Like, there is not a single lull, which at times is a bad thing because it was really stressful watching it for the first time, not knowing what was going to happen.
The first 30 minutes, look how many world jumps they do and how much plot they stop. You have Palpatine show up in the first 5 minutes. Like, it does not stop. And I agree with Leah. I think for this movie, did you need those lulls? I think yes.
There needs to be some breathing room at some point.
There needs to be some breathing room, but it also felt like they were trying to tie everything with a bow, and that's why they were moving so fast.
You hate to see it happen.
Yeah.
They were not in the Endgame, which this came out the same year as Endgame too.
Yeah.
Before the dark times. Then we get to Kijimi, where life starts picking up, and so do my notes. Oh no, we have to go back to the festival world of Festival Land. Because a lot happens on this. We see Ochi's ship, who we then we the audience and then Reyes eventually realizes that's the same ship that flew off of Jakku that she remembers from her visions, and she gives life force to the serpent. And there's another big piece of information that just left my brain.
Lando's there.
Oh, that's a good point. Lando is there, which came out of nowhere. Yeah. And then the whole, give Leia my love. Give it to her yourself. Yeah. Lando, the frack. That's very un-Lando-like, I felt like.
Yeah.
So I understand that in the context of the film and the scene and the universe, in the context of our world and universe, it makes total sense, because she wasn't, obviously Carrie Fisher was gone before they could film 2019's glorious Rise of Skywalker. But on that festival land, we get the first, if I'm not mistaken, it's the second, because the water was the first of the dyad connection passing things through when he yanks on the beads off of her neck, which is fun. And then, of course, we have the great sequence from the trailers of Kylo's ship coming in and Rey running for some reason. And then she does that flip, and then she slices the wing, and then a lot of fun. Then we get the force lightning. Oh god, no, someone's calling. Answer the phone. Nope, didn't want to answer, Mom. Sorry. It's that commercial I keep seeing on the football games. And then that leads to the force lightning of Rey. And at this point, we still don't know she's a Palpatine, but we should have seen Chewie's been captured, right? And boom. The first fake death of the thing. So upsetting.
And this is where I started crying in the theater, and I think the guy next to me thought I was insane. I didn't stop crying for the next 2 hours. So
I mumbled under my breath. I was like, do I hate this movie? And someone looked at me and was like, if they kill Chewie, I'm gonna hate this movie.
I had that same thought.
Like instantly, I was like, JJ, I thought you could do no wrong, but you just killed Chewie. And then it's like, oh, you brought him back. You can do no wrong. 2 hours later. So very, very annoying because it sets up the no stakes death of this entire film. Really just makes the whole movie have no stakes at the end of the day. Then that eventually leads us to Kijimi, where now we get another great sequence of Poe being upset with everyone. You were
a spice runner? You were a stormtrooper?
You were a spice runner? You were a scavenger? Like, just great quirks.
Poe was just offensive this entire movie. Like that was his only character like substance throughout the whole film.
We worked so hard in The Last Jedi, and for what? Him to just
Exactly.
be boring.
He's stressed.
He learned a valuable lesson, and then he learned nothing.
He forgot it already.
No. His lesson was kind of still there. I mean, it's not like he led an entire small rebel fleet against an entire planet of. Okay. Maybe he learned nothing. I don't
He
know.
learned nothing.
There are no
Not a
stakes to
damn
this
thing.
movie.
There is nothing in that boy's head.
There is nothing in that boy's head. It's just I need to get to Babu Frick. Oh, look, it's Zori. Hi, Zori. Hi. Oh no, I'm dead. Anyways, Kijimi, C-3PO, we get that sequence of, he's read the saber. That's how we get to Kijimi. He reads the Sith dagger that leads them to well, it'll lead them somewhere, but it leads them to Kijimi so they can go to Babu Frick. So that C-3PO can they can extract it from his mind. Long story short, we get my favorite moment of the film. If they didn't take away the sacrifice at the end, and that is C-3PO's sacrifice and deciding, it's 3PO, what are you doing? And he's just, I'm taking one last look at my friends. And it's
I cried so hard when I
Why?
first watched it.
And all I could think was, they finally did C-3PO justice. Like, he finally gets to be helpful. And I do hope R2 has his memories, but you never know, man. Like, R2 is kind of untrustworthy, except he had that whole thing from, the end of The Force Awakens for like 30 years. But
Yeah.
when it's Star Wars. Then they end up undoing it, which is very annoying. And it's like, okay, what's the point then? It's not a wrestling match. I don't need 4 fake finishes, man. I don't need false finishes in this Star Wars movie. If you're going to kill someone, let them die.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
I knew it.
What a fucking reference.
Good. What do you guys think about Kijimi and the 3PO of it all?
I was so
Leah?
upset by this scene the first time. Like, the droids were my favorite part of like the first 6 films because they just kind of forgot they existed in the sequel trilogy. And I was like, R2 has to have his memories. And I was still upset from Chewie because we haven't found out that he's not dead yet. And I was like, everyone's gonna die. This is a book 7 Harry Potter situation all over again, where everyone you love just died, and you're emotionally traumatized at the end. So I get why it had to happen. I'm glad they brought him back. In hindsight, I kind of wish they hadn't brought his memories back. I kind of wish R2 hadn't said anything, because no one's death in this movie matters anymore.
Except maybe Snap Wexley, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of his name.
Do you feel like the timing in which they put that scene in the film was off? Because for me, like, it's a sad scene, sure, but it doesn't feel like we've been through enough of the journey for it to be warranted. Unless you look at it from hindsight of, you followed the movies, and I guess so. But if you watch it just as a movie, it's like maybe at the 45 or hour minute mark where you still have 2 hours left of the film. And it just feels out of place for me. So for me personally, it just happens. Like, it's just a scene. And it doesn't really connect with me as much because in my head, as the audience member, it's like, there's still 2 hours of this film. Anything can happen because we've been so faked out so much.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's kind of like a devil's advocate kind of approach to it. But for me, like, I feel like some of the emotion was taken away because of where it was placed in the film.
I think the pacing of this whole movie is jacked up.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
I think the pacing is jacked up. So one of the things I was struggling with when watching it was, when I watch a Star Wars film, what it reminds me of is you're being brought into the world. So things have happened, it's leaving, it's living, it's breathing, and you just happen to be an observer. That's why they're so great at what they do. It's amazing world building. But this movie, it had some world building elements, but unfortunately it crossed the line of it feeling disjointed a little bit at times. And I think when you do world building, you run that risk in general. But unfortunately, they crossed the line there for me because they jumped so much and they were trying to pack so much in and tie so many things with a string. And then on top of trying to tie everything to string, then they start throwing in random mystery boxes here and there. So I think that's why, I mean, it's a long explanation to going from C3PO, but that's kind of why it all felt off to me on a rewatch.
It's because they had no plan, which I can talk about again at the end because I have thoughts on the ending.
Yes.
The epilogue ending, but we'll pin that thought for later.
Yeah.
Pin that on the bulletin board. We eventually get to the indoor moon, and this is where my notes got exciting. Finally, okay. I'm gonna do a lot of long story shorts on these because there's so much dense exposition that man, there's so much happening in this movie. We get to indoor moon. Jaina comes up and, oh, we don't like you. Oh, by the way, no, just kidding. We do like you. You're okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to go over here and get this thing. Okay, cool. Oh, line up. Oh, it's part of the cool. That's awesome. Like that's where the Death Star fell when it was exploded. It just fell into this part of indoor, or this moon of indoor. There it is. Yes. And it leads us to the throne room where we start getting the callbacks of Return of the Jedi. And it's a damn good thing that John Williams was a part of this. It's the only thing that saves this movie in a lot of places.
That is exactly the spot
100%.
where I had that thought yesterday of like, we're really lucky that he was alive to film or to score all 9 films. Like when The Force Awakens came out, I remember looking up how old he was and I was like, please make it to episode 9, because we didn't have Ludwig Göransson yet. Like, who are we going to replace him with? No one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get she gets the Sith holocron. We have that great vision from the trailers that we saw. Kylo shows up. You know, then you got Finn trying to get his way over there, risking it all. Poe's upset, trying to fix it. It's confusing. Then we get to, I would say, possibly peak part of this film for me is the fight on the water, as I've called it, or maybe the fight in the waves. And it is glorious. It is a very simple choreography until once they start dropping and raising and stuff, that's when it gets a little bit more difficult. But like a very simple choreography, but it's the emotion that is brought from the actors for Rey and Kylo. This is like, it really does feel like this could be their last, like this is the middle of the movie. This feels like their last fight. It has every emotional evocation, in my opinion, of that. And it leads to some great stuff. And I think this is where we're going to have to get to a point. But the Leia of it all, Leia realizes that it's time and she needs to go down or whatever. And she calls out to Ben, and that stops him entirely, which leads to Rey stabbing Kylo. And then, which, by the way, I lost it in the theater when she stabbed Kylo. I was like, oh my God, she turned to the dark side. That's what I thought just happened. But the pain is right on Ben's face and Rey's face, and Leia goes down, and we get an explanation, I think, from Maz Kanata at the time, is she knows what she has to do to save her son or whatever. Yeah, the pain from every character had me crying at 7:35 in the morning before work. Like yesterday, I think it was yesterday. No, it was today. And I was like, oh man, like Leia just died, man. So before we jump, we can't do that. We have to talk about the scene as a whole. We can't just skip around. So that leads to Han Solo coming in with a good old-fashioned, hey kid. And we get a fantastic scene between Harrison Ford and Adam Driver, and we get, another callback to The Force Awakens, where it's I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And he just looks at him and goes, you do. And then he puts his hand on his face with the face touch. Ah! And then he turns around, and even worse, he's gone, which is gutting in so many ways because you're with him. You're like, oh my God, yeah, Han Solo. And then it's gone. You're like, oh yeah, he is still dead. But the line that I enjoy, and after rewatching everything, I do have a question. The line I enjoy is, you're just a memory. And yeah, but I'm your memory.
Mhm.
I do. My question for you ladies, is Leia force projecting herself to Ben as Han Solo here?
Ooh.
Because when I watched it today, I wanted to watch it through that lens, and it holds up until a certain point. And that point is when it starts calling back to The Force Awakens. But like the way he delivers certain lines is very Carrie Fisher vibes, especially in the very beginning.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Well, I do want to say before I answer that question, this is on my good scenes list. I have 5 bullet points, and that is on there. Before that, that's the second one. The before that is Chewie crying, because that was some great acting. But for I think it could be possible, and the reason why I say that is there's this line that Han, and I think it's right after the Force Awakens reference where he says, I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And he goes, Dad, and Han goes, I know. And that's a direct tie to crap, I'm blanking the 5th one. I don't know why the title's thank you, Empire Strikes Back. So it's just it is possible because I think Carrie Fisher or Leia would know to pull that line.
Yeah, especially in that moment where he's either gonna say "I love you" or "I'm sorry," whatever it is. At the end of the day, he'd be like, "Kid, rip your heart out, man."
Yeah, that was a big scene for me.
Big scene. Was that your first scene that you had written down?
No, the first one was Chewie crying whenever Leia dies.
That's after this.
Yeah, it's after.
Is it after this?
It is. Just
when
a little
they get
bit.
back to base.
I may just be. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yes, this would be the first one then.
Same. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Leah, what do you think about it?
About the theory or the scene in a whole?
Both while we're here.
I can see that theory, it being Leia. I don't know. I need to rewatch it, like the scene again with that lens to really formulate my thoughts on it. But I love this scene. This is another I couldn't stop crying and got weird looks from the guy next to me first time seeing it, because I was not expecting Harrison Ford to show up in this movie at all. He had made his point very clear. He was never coming back for a Star Wars project, and then he's just there, and everyone gasped. And this is one of the scenes that is very well done. It's the perfect closing dot on Ben and Han's relationship.
Yeah.
And it echoes Luke throwing his lightsaber in The Last Jedi.
Yes. I didn't even think about that. Makes me really appreciate the yeet toss, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeet
this
saber.
lightsaber empty. Yeet.
Yeah. That's a good point. And it's so funny because he throws it and you're like, in my head, all I could think was Pineapple Express the first time. And it's like, why'd you throw it? Why didn't you just smash it on a rock like a sane person?
Well, I was like, aren't you going to need that later? You're going to need some kind of laser sword.
Yeah, I was like,
to fight whatever we're fighting.
Okay, he's just going to run in there with nothing, not even a blaster.
Well, he taped his mask back together. So maybe he should have just saved it for that scene and threw it then. That would make sense. I mean, if you're going to go through all the pressure, if you're going to go through all the work of destroying it in The Last Jedi and then taping it back together with lightsaber scotch tape, you should just go ahead and throw it in the river or whatever they're on, ocean.
I imagine his helmet was still in the TIE Fighter. That's where I think it is. So Ray burned it up.
Yeah. Ray, burn it up. You know what? That's
Yep.
actually that's beautiful. Actually, that's poetry.
It rhymes.
It rhymes. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Delicious. We jump to Octo. Speaking of, well, we can't do that because we got to stay here. No, we can't because we don't actually. We go from Endor straight to Octo, right? Yeah. So we get Luke's discussion, and everyone's. My biggest gripe with the people who hate the Rise of Skywalker is they say, "Well, it just tries to undo everything the Last Jedi did." And there's people in that sect who are like, and that's a good thing. And then there's others like, that's a bad thing. And I'm over here going, you're both wrong. Because what I think it does outside of a couple of scenes and, writing Rose Tico out of it to put Dominic Monaghan in it because he knows the secrets of the Sith. Intriguing. But Luke, everyone's like, oh, well, Luke Skywalker's what he says, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, Luke Skywalker admitted he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you admit you're wrong does not mean it undoes a damn thing. You still fracked up, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I argue that it does not change, try to rewrite the things of The Last Jedi, except for maybe Palpatine. I think Snoke was supposed to be around just so that, there's a common villain. Rey's the light, there's the dark, Ben is the gray, just like Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would make sense because the lines, not to go too much into the ending, but when he's talking about, him dying, he's kind of mimicking the same lines as Snoke.
He is, yes. Talking about, drawing the saber.
And now you're going to draw the saber and you're going to,
strike me
put
down.
it in your hand. Strike me down. Very similar.
Strike me down and I should become more powerful. Oh, wait, no, that's it. Strike me down and I should become more powerful than you could ever imagine. Don't do it, Darth. You're only You're only a master of evil, Darth. That's it. It's my favorite one. I played the episode 3 game so much, would go back and play that sequence and try and win as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's all he would repeat. And so I learned how to say that like Alec Guinness.
That's amazing.
Hilarious.
Yeah, shout out Revenge of the Sith video game, man. That was a lot of fun, except for the Grievous part. That was hard. That was the hardest battle.
I'm sure.
Saying. When they take your lightsaber,
what's the point?
What's the point of playing a game? Seriously, actually, and that's why I'm only exclusively play games with lightsabers for Star Wars. And ships.
Yeah, it's hard with blasters.
And
I hate
ships.
flying ships. Ships
Really?
is hard.
I've
always hated it. Even in the Lego games, I hate the ship levels.
I normally hate it, but for some reason on like Battlefront 1 and 2 on the newer gen stuff, those are the ones that I happen to always do the best at, and I don't get it. I got no idea. It's probably because I used to just get like super hammered and then play,
that's the secret.
Would sound counterproductive, but apparently that's how you fly now.
They fly now.
They fly now. So, and it's a great sequence. And then we get the Leia Jedi flashback, which holy balls, right?
That's a good one.
That was another big surprise that I didn't expect, just like Han Solo, and was so happy we got, was that sequence. Because it explains, the Mary Poppins, which everyone's like,
yeah.
And I'm like, it's, do you hate that scene still? Well, that's the sound of neggers right there. It's more like a cow, I suppose, maybe. And then we get Luke, ascending to his legendary status finally lifting an X-Wing out of some water.
I love that part.
I love that part.
I do love that.
I teared up again yesterday watching that part. I was like, he finally did it.
Yeah, the music there too is so beautiful. It's like, man, it's a nice little bow for Luke right there. Let's talk about this Octo scene, because also she pulls the thing from it and they have this great discussion. Oh, and the point of this scene is I don't know if Rey at this point knows or not, I think there's a point where she's Kylo's told her by now, right?
Yeah, because Luke mentions it.
Yeah, because I remember Luke mentioning she's like, I'm afraid of me, and he's like, because you're a Palpatine? Yeah.
Yeah, Leia knew.
Yeah. What? And we judged you based on your heart, not because of your family lineage. Look at us. And it's like, wow, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only redeeming quality of her being a Palpatine, was that line.
It's true. And it does bring a great moral, which is the moral of Star Wars. That is, it's not about what your family is, what your family does. It is about what you do and choose.
Which is the point Ryan made in the last movie, but no, we couldn't.
He made it in a big way. In a big way. And JJ goes, well, we'll still talk about it, but just, in a mystery box way.
JJ just wanted to use all these legacy characters with having no reason to actually use these legacy characters.
And then toss the other characters that he's built so much time to put in the series, toss them to the side.
And then put Dominic in there for some reason.
And Dominic Monaghan. And we act like he's been there the entire time. He's like, I've been with you since the First Order. Bitch, no, you ain't.
He doesn't even go here.
No, he doesn't even go here.
The Dominic Monaghan of it all really is like, son of a bitch. It sticks out like such a sore thumb.
It does.
It reminds me of is it 22 Jump Street, one of the post-credit sequence when they have like that joke. They're talking about all the sequel movies that they would have done. And one of them has Seth Rogen comes in.
24 Jump Street. Yes.
And Seth Rogen comes in and it's like, does he look different to you? He's like, hey, he looks the same. Yeah, I look always the same. And then it's like, oh, he calls him some name. It's like, it's Janko. Oh yeah. Shit, Janko. It reminds me of that scene. It's like, wait, has Charlie from Lost been here the whole time? Did he die and go to a galaxy far, far away? Is that all it takes?
That's it.
Is that how I have to be in the Star Wars? I have to die?
It's the JJ cinematic universe.
Yes.
Ooh. That means we can have a smoke monster.
I don't want that.
That turns into a polar bear. I think. It's been a long time since I've seen that, so Anyways, back to the movie we were talking about. We jumped to the planning scene, which I think we're have to go from a high. Oh, well, what did you guys think of that Octo sequence? For me, it's up there. It's on the good scenes.
It's in a good spot.
Yeah, I think it didn't make my official 4, but I would put it a higher mid-tier of good. I mean, in the sense of okay, it's passable. I like it, but it's not the good scenes.
It's a 5 out of 10.
I would give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay,
I'm glad it was in there because it put some context into it.
It does, and it. Thank God they do that because it kind of saves our hero. And it saves our old hero if you subscribe to that negative energy of The Last Jedi. And it also sets us up for this grand battle of the old Empire Republic, I guess.
Battle thing.
Let's jump to the planning scene. Okay, most of the time, planning scenes are just exposition anyway. Every now and then, they stand out, and I like to call it an exposition slap, and this one is an exposition slap.
Yes, 100%. But it does contain, this is number 4 on my list.
Oh, no. Let's see what happens.
This is your last good
funniest line. No, I got them out of order is what I've learned. This is 4th on the list. Okay. But it has the funniest line in the film where Finn and Poe look at each other and they go, General? That's hilarious. I thought that was the funniest scene.
This is where all the Finn Poe shippers lost their minds.
General.
They were co-generals.
You can have more than one general. That's how wars work.
Oh my God, they were co-generals.
I will say, I do have a good note about this. Finn is a fucking powerhouse in this scene. You know, the dialogue is rather bland all the way around for everyone. All the actors kill it, but Finn, his dialogue is super duper bland, other than that moment where it's like they have this radio tower, and once they transmit, it'll destroy everything. And then that's why, and then Finn just goes, except they won't. And everyone looks at him. He's like, because the ground team's gonna blow it. And I'm like, okay. And that's where it flipped. And I went back and rewatched the scene, and I'm like, oh, I see it. He answers and says every line with such ferocious vigor.
Yeah.
I actually texted Bethanne last night, and I was like, you can tell that John Boyega's attitude in this movie changed. And it works for Finn, because he has, I mean, you could tell John was done, but Finn has more of a like oomph behind him now, and not just like oh, I'm a stormtrooper that ran away. Yeah, the Empire sucks. Let's do something about that. Like, he's on fire now.
He's on fire. And the best part is, like, despite him being written horribly, it carries over. His performance carries over with the lessons of the Last Jedi. Yeah. Like, you know, he is willing to die if it means saving the ones he loves, right? Not just die for the sake of dying.
Yeah.
And so that kind of shows. And then fun trope over this entire trilogy, Finn is always meeting a new female character.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And everyone's always shipping him with said character.
Nah, we're shipping him with Poe.
Two co-generals sitting in a pool. They may kiss.
They may duel.
They were co-generals.
So yeah, shout out John Boyega, because up until this point, he's mostly yelling.
Yeah.
And then at this point, they allow, once Leia's gone, everyone's allowed to settle down. It's so weird. The tone of this movie. The tone reminds me of me. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
That thing almost
reminds
died.
me. I mean, there is quite a lot of chaotic energy, if I do say so myself. And that's a compliment to you, Thomas.
Thank you. I try to be Thor, but apparently I'm Loki. So look like Thor.
Hey, Monahan was Loki. So, you know, you got that running for you.
He low-key knew the secrets of the Sith, and I'm still upset about it. Do you think
that's how he ended up? And maybe he was actually Loki in Star Wars. Maybe that's why he ended up in the zone, in the wrong universe. Yeah, that's why he was poached from the wrong timeline.
The TVA was like,
like, fuck, what's this guy doing in Star Wars? Get him over here.
No, let's replace him with the guy from Lost. What? Just do it. It'll be funny. Which, again, I will say, the reason he's in the film, behind the scenes, is so funny. He won a bet against J.J. Abrams, and J.J. put him into the film.
Really?
I don't remember. That is what I've read.
That's why he's in it?
I'm pretty certain that is the story. I remember JJ coming out, and I was like, okay, that makes me feel better about it. Like, that's awesome. I wish he'd have done it in a different way, but hell yeah, way to win a bet, Dominic Monaghan. Way to bet yourself into Star Wars.
Put him in a stormtrooper outfit, like they did
like
Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Could have had him kissing a guy. Like, they have two girls kiss, and that pissed off half the world. So just have two girls and two guys kiss and piss off the whole world, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, hate for everybody.
He could have just been in
that's the
crowd.
theme of Star Wars.
Yeah, he could have been in the crowd. Yeah, because that's what we need in Star Wars, more hate, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's
what it's all about.
That's the secret.
You will hate me and kill me in your anger.
Oh, yeah, and you will ascend to the throne of the Sith.
Kathleen Kennedy is just thriving on all of our Star Wars hate. That's what
we
her alive.
Are totally going to talk about Kathleen Kennedy when we get to the visions sequence and the lack of visions sequence. Because the line that I remember being written makes me very upset and really diminishes the whole trilogy, if you ask me. But
we'll get there.
So we'll get there. jumping to the comments really quick because we do have them and I forgot to look at them till now. I love you, live commenters. Thank you so much for watching. Terry McIver joining us in the comments. He actually said the entirety of episode 9 felt like we were light skipping through the movie.
Amen.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
That's why my notes are light skipping real good. And then he said after The Last Jedi, he was really looking forward to The Rise of Skywalker. And thanks to fans, we got rewrites. By the way, for the audio listeners, those are in quotations, fans. We got rewrites and retconning, damn it. Rose and Finn were tossed aside unnecessarily. Agreed, my good
Agreed.
sir. Now, from Twitch, because we're over on the Twitch, as I said at the beginning, we have a lot of words here coming from Dark Sage 9117. Were you born in 91? Doesn't matter. Anyways, they say that they will say this is about the Rise of Skywalker. They will say this about the Rise of Skywalker. Excuse me. They did not like the final space battle. In their opinion, the First Order should have taken lessons from the Empire and not have had the tracking beacon on the capital ship. I also did not understand why at the end the entire galaxy was finally going to fight the First Order. So if I am to understand, they hated them more than the Empire? Question mark. I know this Star Destroyers have Death Star tech and could have blown up any planet that was nearby, but is it really is that really the reason why the entire galaxy would team with you to destroy the First Order? If so, then it seems to me they were perfectly fine with a giant Death Star blowing up Alderaan. Wow, that was a lot. Very dense. I agree. I do question. And why did that? Because if they're willing to answer, they could. Anyways, what were you going to say, Leah?
I said the beacon wasn't originally on the lead ship. It was on the ground. They moved it to be on the lead ship once they figured out the Rebels' plan to blow it up on the ground, which is still a dumb move, but like that wasn't the original plan. That was plan B.
That is true. That was plan B. But I'm intrigued by some of that Empire quotes there. But yeah, why did they wait until now? Did it really take, they're going to blow up all the planets, not just like Alderaan and Scarif and half of Jeddah? Like, oh no, 3's okay, but any more? Oh, and while we're here, we might as well talk about how they blew up an entire Hosnian system, right?
Yeah.
Of the New Republic. So 8 of them, you do you. You do you. But on number 9, we're going to show up the Rise of Skywalker. That's the whole plot. Let's jump to Exegol. I said that wrong.
Sexagol.
Sexagol.
Sexagol. Oh, okay. You jumped right to the Raylo. Right to the Raylo of it all.
No, remember,
Rise of
it's
Skywalker.
the Sith breeding planet.
Oh shit. That's true.
That's a Return of the Pod callback. It's from the Visual Dictionary. They called it Sexagol for like a year afterwards.
Dang.
But I can't hear Exegol without calling it Sexagol anymore. Sexagol. Yeah, so according to the Visual Dictionary, Exegol is where like Sith of the past went to breed. Like it is specifically.
Well, didn't they say that in the beginning of the movie?
They didn't talk about sex in this movie.
No.
Well, I would have.
It's a Sith
plenty
temple.
of innuendos.
This was a revelation that was in the Visual Dictionary. It was not in the movie.
Oh,
but
yeah, like, just like the
why does that planet need to exist?
It's for the Sith.
It's for self-loathing sexy time.
Yeah.
Bow, bow, bow. I've been feeling bad. Okay, move on.
I've been feeling fine. I was gonna try and do it in a Darth Vader voice, but I don't know if I can pull that one.
That's really funny.
I've been feeling fine. Gave it the college try. Worked out well. Again on Sexagol, I want to highlight Finn being an amazing leader. Really stands out. I don't have a lot of notes here. So let's just talk about this whole sequence because the notes I really have are 2 questions, 1 exclamation point, and then when we get to that lightning portion where he's shooting it into space, that is hauntingly beautiful. And I felt bad for being so mesmerized and being like, oh, wow, so pretty as they all die.
They all plummet to their death.
Oh, no, they're dying, but it's pretty. It's like Turbo in Wreck-It Ralph going to the beacon. Don't go to the light. The light. No, that's good. You're going to die. Go to the light. No. Yes. No. Yes. It's just that whole vibe going in.
Yes.
So on Exegol, you've got two plots. You've got the plot in the sky and the plot under the ground, I think.
Yeah. They're in some kind of hole.
Yeah, they are.
Sitting there.
They're in a plot hole for sure.
Yes.
Well, it is Sexagol. I mean, anyway,
Sexagol.
We're not gonna cross that line.
Rise of Skywalker. I'm just saying.
Ascending to the throne. Yes. Exegol just got so sidetracked. They lead the ground force, and then the ground force has to go on to the ship force. And the one point that I really want to, because up to now we get one scene with Palpatine talking to Rey, and it is, I don't remember a damn thing they say. It's inconsequential for the most part. It's I am all of the Sith, and and it's
I didn't want you dead. I wanted you to take the throne.
I never wanted you dead. I wanted you to take the throne. Nope, not Joker. I'm supposed to be Palpatine next time. And then from there, we cut to this awesome epic space battle. And then right in the middle, as soon as the horses go on... Oh, no. My laptop's dying. As soon as the horses go on the ship, all of a sudden, they make this really hard cut in the middle of the film to dead silence. Did anyone have like a mild freak out like I did? Because I lost it. Because all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck was that? Why does it feel like they just clunked me into a whole different movie? What is going on? Like I lost it. I got real mad. And that was like right before I took a shower today. I was so confused. Because it was just, you talk about clunky, and that was a drop into it. So I'm going to grab my charger. Let's talk, Bethanne. Talk about Sexagol. What do you like about this and not like about Sexagol?
Well, you know, Sexagol, according to the comics and books, is a place where they play Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On 24/7. So as you're entering, you just hear Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On, the whole album, the whole Sex album. And then for some reason, they cut to later on in his career to when he did the song, what is it? We covered it and I can't remember it. It's the other Sex one he does. They cut to the other Sex one, and then they bring out the really famous cake that Barry Gordon and him took a picture of, which is like cake made out of boobs. So like, it's very like Marvin Gaye cinematic universe within Sexagol. So that's what it is.
I see.
Impressive. Leah.
Am I supposed to talk about Exegol?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Leah, that was what a host I am, folks. Leah, what did you think about Exegol or Sexagol? It's up to you.
As a planet, I think it's hella creepy. Who are these people in this?
Give Exegol a rating 1 out of 100. Like 10 out of 10 would visit, or like 1 out of 10 would never visit.
I'd like to give it a 0 because it's so bad, but I can't. So I'll give it a 1.
So I'll give you a 1.
In the binary system, that's a win.
That's true.
My main question is, who the hell are all these people in this arena that Palpatine's in? Like, they're just chanting and the whole time and cheering, and then they get crushed at the end. But we don't. Are they people?
About there's random chanting in the movie.
Sith ghosts? Like, I don't. Are they real? I don't know.
Okay, I'm glad you asked this question because I still don't understand, and I've read the quotes from. This is the first Star Wars movie where I aggressively went after every bit of news and article after the movie because I had to know what the frack they were thinking. Because I was like, everything they do in this movie, there's so much happening. There's just too much happening, and we just watched Endgame. And it feels like Endgame was way better. And as soon as Endgame ended, it was like Star Wars can't do this, can they? Oh no, we're in trouble. And they unfortunately could not stick that landing. I'm looking for the Colin Trevorrow animated film someday, one day maybe.
One day.
It'll be the rise of Finn Skywalker.
Except they can't kill my droids. That's in that script. They can't die. Other than that, great script.
Have you watched Book of Boba Fett?
Yes.
Don't watch Book of Boba. Have you seen the
from
third
yesterday?
episode?
Yeah, those are not good droids. They're fine.
But one of them turned himself off. It was cute.
That was cute.
was
He's
so
still there.
serious.
Though. Like, he didn't die.
I know. He can't.
Do you know who I am?
The knife
I am
droid was
Boba Fett.
terrifying.
So
He deserved to die.
yeah, you mean Chef Grievous? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Chef Grievous.
Chef Grievous.
Can I
I'm
also?
convinced the other one's head is a KitchenAid mixer, and I need to know.
Yes.
It looks like a KitchenAid mixer.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Dude,
It is.
That's something they like put together at like Star Tours. Like one of the Imagineers, you
There's
know,
some
like found
scraps
a
in a bin.
random scraps, made it into an animatronic.
That's
But can we
100%.
also, unrelated, a very quick tangent, and we will get back to this. Can we talk about that Rancor scene in with the
Yes.
tables? Dude,
Yeah.
excellent, where he's just
I
like, "Why
didn't
should we trust
realize
you?"
the table was there, and then it scared me. I thought it was going to be
I
Black
loved it.
Chrysanthemum coming in.
I loved it. Sorry, that was my one tangent.
Yeah.
I was very happy with that scene.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think I'm the only person who like loved yesterday's episode, like on a whole 10 out of 10 level.
Everyone's hating on this show for no fucking reason. Everyone hated last week,
Yeah.
but we would not have had the payoff this week without last week. Like, it's funny. That's how
Well,
a story
there's-
works.
There's always an episode in a series that's always slower because it needs exposition to set up. And that's what the third episode was. And I thought the fourth one had great payoff. And it's building into this scene that they have in the next two episodes, whatever that may be. But like, there's no reason to hate it. It's well made. It's really well made.
Yes, and I think, I truly think the real issue with the Book of Boba Fett is that most people aren't able to look at the whole story. And
Right.
I don't know how to watch a movie and not hyper analyze everything that's going on my first viewing. So I don't catch everything, but I'm going through and I am already deducing the plot by pulling information that I think is going to be relevant and in some cases it works out well. Flash season 2, I 100% called who was going to be the man in the mask / Jay Garrick / his father, etc. It was wild.
Yeah.
I think these are my 5 theories, and all 5 came together in the same person on screen.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I did the same with Peacemaker and Vigilante.
Oh, I haven't watched today's episode.
Oh, you haven't watched? Wait,
Oh,
have you
I
watched?
forgot.
You've watched the third one though, right?
I've
'Cause they
watched the
released-
first 3.
Yeah, so the third one, The Identity of a Vigilante. I haven't watched the fourth one yet.
Same. It came out today. I have to film the dance tomorrow.
Oh.
Do you really want to? Do you really want to?
Dude, not JJ. James Gunn was pretty much like, "You are never going to go past the skip button ever again,
Nope.
ever again."
Can't. We got way off the track of Star Wars. Oh, we'll get it back. We'll get back to. We'll work our way back slowly. We'll rewind to the Book of Boba Fett.
Peacemaker, Peace, Star Wars. You're
Boom.
Hey, it works.
That's how Liberty dies.
With thunderous applause.
When in Book of Boba Fett, when they slice the droid's necks, did you notice that when that sound happened, I started twitching because I was like, I know that sound and I can't figure out where I know that sound from. And then today, when Ben is like force pushed, what was the line? So as I fell, the last Skywalker shall fall, and pushes him into that hole, and the lightning comes out. That's the same sound. It's like, it's like I don't know. It's like nails on a chalkboard. But I wonder if that's supposed to be a specific sound for like electricity, like a specific amperage of electricity, because slice the droid's neck makes that sound, and then in this movie it's used in Sithic ways, right? Like using.
Hmm.
So it's as
Interesting.
trying to listen to the audible dictionary of Star Wars, right? And all their sound effects. I still can't figure out why those two are connected. But that brings us back to Sexagal, where Ben shows up and comes to save good old Rey. And I'm just gonna
In
let
his
y'all
good
take it
boy
away.
sweater.
In the what a sweater, too, by the way, like pristine.
His good boy sweater.
His good boy sweater.
And we know it's that we'll rise, we'll strike, we'll raise the lightsaber, and then we'll bring her hand down, and she does, and hands the lightsaber to Ben. We get, just a little shrug, and then slicey dicey. He does run in with a blaster. He's not like completely unarmed or off the bat. Where did he get the blaster? I don't know. Does it look like Han Solo's blaster to me?
How did he get there? I don't know.
That's also a question I've been trying to figure out, and I think I just gave up. I don't. Anyway, you know what? He like flew. He force projected himself to the forest moon of Endor, and the Ewoks were like, "Yeah, we'll give you one. Sure, whatever."
We got this old X-wing from like 30 years ago. We're not using it. You want it?
Yeah, why not? Oh, we also have a Lambda shuttle. We don't want that. We don't want that. Oh, okay. You sure? Okay, we're gonna. That's good because we ate the wiring. Thanks a lot, Ewok. Best way to build this up. Ben comes in. They're finally both there facing Palpatine, and we get the lines about the dyad, and he looks down, and the power of the life force between you two is enough to give me strength. The dyad, such a rarity in the force. Blah, 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 blah. I don't remember it. I wish I did off the top of my head. But he goes through all of that, zaps them of their power, and that's when everything starts going wrong. Up in
his fingers back.
That was disgusting.
His gross, bony, missing fingers came back.
Which, I mean, we should have seen that growing back as how it would happen when they come back from the snap, from the blip in Marvel. It reminds me of the same thing of how it just But for that sequence then leads to just Rey on her back, and she's staring up, and we have the sky opens, the roof of Arlington Stadium opens. Jerry damn Jones doesn't know how to build anything just on Earth, and he went to Sexagal to pay off some strippers. As a Cowboys fan, I hate to say it. That's a real story that's been leaked multiple times throughout years.
Really?
I'm gonna go read
at the
on
AT&T Stadium.
That Jerry Jones will pay off strippers back in the day. It was the rumor. Don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not ever probably gonna be there. But the Jerry Jones AT&T Arlington Stadium joke, that's gonna stand on Sexagal, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
It opens up, and then instead of having a gorgeous screen that's too big for its own damn good, instead we get lots of lightning that's too powerful for its own damn good. And it looks like an eyeball in the sky a little bit, like an iris, which I enjoy, which is where I started feeling that haunting beauty seep in. And Rey says, "Be with me. Be with me. Stay with me. Talk to me." I don't remember the lines on that one either.
I think it was just "Be with me."
It was just "Be with me." That's
"Be
good.
with me."
Because what she's saying at the beginning in the woods when she's like floating upside down weirdly.
With rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about lifting rocks yet. We're doing it a lot. And that's when we get the voices of, I want to say 9 different Jedi. I know we've got,
that's right.
Yeah, we've got Anakin for sure. We've got Ahsoka, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon.
Yoda.
Opie's there too, right? Because they were able to pull audio.
It was old Alec Guinness test audio, I think.
I think in this one it's just Ewan actually.
Is it Ewan?
Yeah, because
Well,
it's
what am I thinking of? There was something they pulled Alec.
yeah,
they pulled someone's audio.
They definitely in The Force Awakens they pulled Alec Guinness saying the word
Ray.
afraid, and they cut
That's
out
what I'm thinking of.
Ray, so that's why it sounded funky. It's Ray. These are your first steps, and it's interesting because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi who reaches out and says, "Ray, these are your final steps. Join us." And like it ascends up, Yoda's there, and they're all just saying to rise, 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 rise in the Force, rise with the Jedi, be the Jedi, woosah. And that's where we get Ahsoka's voice popping in. We get Kanan. We get probably more characters.
That's all I can remember.
I know off the top of my head, that's all I can remember, and I'm trying to. Luminara.
Yes.
Yes. Ayla Secura. Here we go. I found the sequence here. We've got Qui-Gon, Kanan Jarrus. I see Adi Gallia. Yeah, it says it's a voice. Yoda, Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Ewan, Mace Windu, Ayla Secura, Ahsoka Tano, Luminara Unduli, Anakin Skywalker. And I believe that is it there. Yes. So a Jedi named Adi Gallia, a character I do not
That's
remember.
not sparking anything.
Nothing. Where else? Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on one second. It sent me to apparently this character showed up in the Clone Wars. Is what I'm seeing, because it took me to Angelique Perrin. There's no E at the end. Who's an actress and voice actress, and she is the voice of Adi Gallia, as well as BON1 and a few others, it looks like, in the Clone Wars. Which interesting.
Weird choice, but okay.
Yeah, weird choice.
We should have had Master Plo Koon if we're gonna throw in random.
I don't even remember who this is. I don't either. Adi Gallia is in Nomad Droids. So somewhere...
everyone's favorite episode of Clone Wars.
Yeah. So somewhere there.
I actually really love Nomad Droids, but I love droids. So
Adi Gallia. I think I might know who this character is. Because also in Citadel Rescue, and that one is sticking out a little bit more of who the Jedi droids were. Yeah. Anyways, she also played Mama the Hutt. All right.
Oh, okay.
In the episode Hunt for Zero, little old me.
On the Hutt Council of Cliches.
On the Hutt Council, who did you know gets entirely wiped out in the War of Bounty Hunters?
That makes sense.
They, except for Jabba, Kira from Crimson Dawn maneuvers the entire Hutt Council to take on the Empire, and Vader slices them in half.
I'm waiting for her to show up in Boba Fett.
Same.
Yeah.
So last night recording Reckless Rebellion, spoiler alert, potentially, the Din Djarin music popped up in Book of Boba Fett.
That's right.
Boom.
That got me so hyped last night.
He dropped a rumor that someone dropped a rumor that Din Djarin is allegedly going to be flying a Naboo starfighter, yellow and silver, in a battle.
That's a very specific rumor.
Very specific. And you know what's funny is I actually heard that a while back, that we should be expecting that at some point in a future episode of something with Mando. And I was like, yeah.
Gotta be the Filoni episode.
It's gotta be the Filoni episode.
It's gotta be
6. That's exactly what I felt. The Rise of Skywalker is so good. We just go talk about the Book of Boba Fett.
I know. We didn't have this problem last week.
No, we did not.
We did not. Did I just see somebody's name Thras? No, I did not. All right. So
All right,
At
back-
the end of back to the plot, the Jedi have shown up and they give Rey all the power, and she's standing there and she's resisting and blah, and then she's pulling it in. I am all of the Sith, and I am all the Jedi. Boom, lightning, explosions,
And I am Iron Man.
and then Rey falls down, and she's gray. Not in like a gray Jedi way, but like
just
skin
like a
tone.
dead way.
So she done did dead. Ben Solo somehow climbed out of the Sarlacc pit of the Sexagal Sith. The sexy pit.
Sexy
No,
bit.
this is a sad time.
You're right. It's a sad time. And Ben walks over and he picks her up. Rey. And then he gives his life to her. His life force. And then she kisses him passionately, but it's a kiss of thanks, so we're not gonna dive into that. Let me guess, it's number 1 on your scene of good scenes.
It's number 3, but that's because I went out of order. That is on the scene. Reylo kiss. We are going to ignore the next after they kiss.
The
what
movie
happens
ends there.
afterwards. The movie ends. Everyone kisses and they're happy. And oddly enough, they go back to the Ewok scene from episode 6 and start celebrating.
Yep,
I thought was an interesting callback. But nothing else happened. But yeah, that is the fourth. That's the fourth good scene. Reylo.
Reylo. Yeah, Leah, I know you're a Reylo fan, so let's talk about Reylo while we're here.
Okay. Well, first we got to backtrack to Good Boy
Oh.
Ben Solo coming
Good boy,
onto
Ben
the
Solo.
scene.
Of course.
Because up until this moment, Ben has been a Skywalker, but in that moment, he's a Solo. He runs in the blaster and not a single clue about what he's doing. He has no plan. He just walks in and he goes. And that is Han Solo's offspring
Han.
right there.
Yes, 100%.
So
100%.
fast forwarding to he's crawling out of the pit. So I'm like sobbing at this point, the very first time I see the movie. And they do the kiss, and I literally went, yes, like actually loudly in the theater. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was not the only one. And then he lays down and disappears. And that's the point in the movie where I stopped crying, because I've been crying for like 2 hours at this point. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Why is he disappearing? And the second time I watched it, it was even worse. Like, it makes no sense that he's disappearing. Like, is he dead?
It makes no
He should just be dead.
sense.
If he's dead, he should be a body. Like, they should take him back and prove that he's dead because he's a war criminal. Like, honestly, him coming back to the Rebel base would not have ended well. So I don't know how you would have ended it, but him just disappearing into nothing is not a good ending.
I hated that. And didn't Adam Driver not know that they were going to do that?
So that's my rant for the end.
Okay.
Pin that
We'll
for
talk
after the
about it.
epilogue.
That's a good,
Gotcha.
that brings up a really good point, because not only does Ben disappear and fade away, so does Leia at the exact same moment, which
Why?
that leads me to question, does Rey have the life force of Ben and Leia? Leia, the line from Maz Kanata, so here's my tinfoil Charlie Day theory ready. Maz Kanata says that she knows what she has to do to reach her son and bring him back. And then she goes and she lays down, and then she calls out to Ben first, goes and lays down, and then they cover her with the sheet as if she's gone. But she doesn't disappear till the very end. So it seems as if she went into a very deep meditative state, which is why I go into the, did she force project herself as Han to Ben? And that was
That's what I did.
What he needed to do, or that's what he needed. He needed closure from Han for his heart to be able to go back to the good side. And so once she did that, she was then imbuing him with her life force energy, because it makes absolute sense to me that, if that's what it took to bring back Ben Solo, then her life energy is in there in him. So when when he gives her his life energy into Rey, it seems to me like maybe he's giving Leia's energy at the same time. Thoughts on that? I'll take my tinfoil hat off.
If he has 2 life energies, then why did he die?
He could only gave one.
Yeah, he could have just given 1.
Selfish bitch. Could have had him for longer.
I know.
What if he died when he fell down that pit and then had to be re-imbued with life energy and brought back to life? So
Then they should have shown that on camera.
Just like they should have shown that it was a kiss of acceptance.
No. They should have shown how he got to Exegol. That's what they should have shown.
They should have shown a lot of stuff, like 3PO not getting his memories back. I kid. Do I? But then we get what is officially my favorite part of this entire movie. Chewie gets his fucking medal, and I still get a pop. It's a big pop for me every time. It was me and one guy in the theater the first time who were both like, yeah, Chewie gets his medal. And everybody else was like,
What
this guy is on? It's like, and we were like in totally different spots. And he like looked and I was like, Chewie, he gets it. And my nephew, I even did it. I'm just like, man, I love that part. My nephew's like, why does he get the medal? I was like, because he didn't get it in the first movie. It's bullshit. Know your history. It's bullshit. If you're not a white human, they probably look down on you. That is actually very true along all of the Star Wars inside of the universe due to Palpatine being a speciesist, I suppose.
Because Palpatine's a space Nazi.
Yeah, on Sexagol in AT&T Stadium. So that ends the Hexagon sequence. We get a lot of great, yay, nub without the fun music and stuff. And we see a lot of good stuff. Oh, when Finn and Poe reconnect and they hug, there's a lot of great energy there. And then when Rey shows up and you just see Finn start crying, bro, got me. When
it got me again.
When the Trinity hugged, I was like, oh, it's like one of the 5 good things about this movie. That hug. We need more hugs in this movie. And then eventually it gets us to Tatooine, where of course we get a little bit of Jawas and good old fashioned and she goes to the Skywalker homestead or the Lars homestead.
The Lars homestead.
The Lars homestead. Or is it the person from episode 1 of Book of Boba Fett?
What did they go to there?
I'm pretty sure it's the same place.
I'm pretty sure it's I
just wasn't buried yet.
Yeah. Well, it's got 25 years of sandstorms and
true.
And
we still got a ways to go.
And Boba Fett laying waste to people on the planet as the Satra.
Sarlacc.
Yeah, blowing up Sarlacc. Well, technically, Finnick blew up the Sarlacc, so shout out Finnick.
Don't touch my buttons.
That man knows how to destroy some shit.
I died at the don't touch my buttons.
Don't touch my buttons.
Don't touch my buttons. Don't touch my buttons. It's just like, okay. All right, Boba. So, anyways, let's talk about this part. My big gripe, it's got nothing to do with what actually happens. It's got something to do with a giant plot hole that I might have answered just now in my head. Rey goes, ties up the Anakin's lightsaber and Leia's lightsaber, ties them up, Force buries them into the sand. Yay. She pulls out her lightsaber. She just fires that baby up, and oh my god, it's a yellow lightsaber. And I don't even know if you know this, but the hum of it is so sexy and powerful.
It's so low.
It's so, and I'm like, yeah, let's go knock out some sexy Sithagals or whatever. But then all of a sudden, some random old lady is just out in the middle of the nowhere, and she's like, it's been so long since anyone was here. Who are you? Rey. Rey who? Looks over. Shout out. We get some Force ghosts. Rise Skywalker. But what the fuck's the old lady doing there? That's
Who
my
is
gripe
she?
here. Who is she indeed?
She's no one.
It's she. Oh, ooh. Does that mean she's also a Jedi?
I'm just saying, she's no one.
So what you're saying is she's also a Palpatine.
She's actually
She's
a
both.
Skywalker.
She's actually both. So like it's like a
Mm.
second cousin removed thing
Mm.
on the Palpatine and Skywalker timeline. So that's what she is. She's some other weird odd name, but she's related to both the Palpatines and Skywalkers.
It's a very
And
very
Chewie.
impressive.
And the
Chewie.
Wookiees.
Oh, I gotta love
She's
part
actually a
Wookiee.
clone.
She actually was an
Oh my God.
escaped
You know what?
stormtrooper.
Okay. All right. I had an insane thought. What if it's Omega?
I was getting ready to say that as a joke.
I mean, it could be.
It's
She could be hanging
Omega.
out on. She could be hanging out on Tatooine with a brother.
Tatooine. I love the way that Tamara
Tatooine.
Morrison says Tatooine.
Everything he says is great.
I will
I'm
only accept that
blind.
pronunciation.
I'm so glad they brought him back.
I love him
Oh,
so
yeah.
much.
I
Look
have
at
been
us.
enjoying every single scene he is in. Every single one.
I love it when he fights in his underwear.
That
It
was
just
a
made
great
me
scene.
laugh. It made me laugh so hard because I remember seeing Luke in those, and I was like, "What's the point of those underwear?" I mean, granted, I do believe. Well, in his case, I always thought it was air pockets to keep him floating
Mm.
because that's how physics works. At least in our universe, we don't live in that same galaxy, it would seem. But having him fight in those really gave me wrestling vibes, and I really appreciate
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
he gets ripped out. It's like, oh, by God, he's getting thrown around here. It's just wild. Back to Rise of Skywalker. I have a question because I didn't mention it when I said, Rey's dead, but she doesn't stay dead. Ben Solo stays dead as far as we know.
Dumb.
Well, he has to stay dead because he's no longer a body. Now he's no body.
Truly.
Do you think Rey should have stayed dead?
I think the whole movie should have stayed dead. Personally.
Shots fired.
Personally speaking. But besides that, yeah, I get tired of fake deaths a lot of time because it's like, I mean, I know I keep talking about this. It's like the mystery box. People just get tired of it. It's a cliche storytelling element that if it's done too many times, it's why, what's his name? M. Night Shyamalan was basically kicked out of Hollywood because he kept doing the same fucking thing over and over again. And, yeah, because I think it's more satisfying. Yeah, I think it's more satisfying personally, even though people don't like it, whenever it makes sense for the story. I think it kind of works against the story and against all the writing and process put into it and the arc of it. Whenever you bring someone back, I think it goes pretty much against what you were setting up. You don't get the reward of the emotion of it.
I agree with that. Leah.
I don't think the two main characters should have died that we followed throughout this entire saga, and they kind of need to do whatever they're gonna
too.
do after this. But it got to the point where when Rey dies, even the first time seeing it, I was like, she's not actually dead because we've been through this twice already. This is like a boy who cried wolf situation. And guess what? She's not dead. And then it makes Ben disappearing hit way less harder than I think it could have, because you're just like, at that point, you're just like, what is happening? Like, death in this movie makes no sense.
They could have kept them alive. And we could have gotten a Rey and Ben Solo, like, Disney Plus TV show. The Adventures of Ben and Rey. And it would have been so good. But no, they had to go ruin it. I'm just saying, we could have had, Leah, we could have had a whole series of Reylo. How amazing would that have been?
That's okay. Tumblr gave it to us anyway. Tumblr said, I reject your narrative and substitute my own.
All right. So we've talked about the Rise of Skywalker. So we've talked about some of the highs. We've negged on it. We've talked about Book of Boba Fett because we care about that a little bit more right now, it seems. Top 3 moments and your very biggest complaint that you haven't levied yet. I'm just letting you go to the list because I'm gonna wing mine.
Okay. Who wants to go? Who's going first?
Leah, you start.
Okay.
We'll let
One of the
Bethanne
best
think.
moments
That's
in
smart.
this that we didn't talk about is the Armada. That scene gets me every time. Like, I even know, they're coming to the rescue, like, but it's one of those scenes that you rewatch and you still get stressed of like, what if they don't show up this time? Like, just what if they don't? And then they show up and it's so many ships. I forget how many ships it is. I love that scene, and I love that Lando is that's the I have a gripe about them bringing back all these classic characters, but if someone had to lead this armada into this battle, it did need to be Lando or Leia. I love the Rey stabbing Ben and like healing him and healing his scar that she gave him and his whole ascent to Ben Solo, including that piece with Harrison Ford. And then I love Ben's arrival on Exegol, even though we have no idea how he got there. That scene is just so well done and so
Ooh, I know how.
funny.
The world
How?
between worlds.
Ah, yes. That's where
Obviously,
he's chilling now.
Yeah.
I have this theory, which leads me to my next point of biggest complaint I have not let out because I've been holding this in since this movie came out. So I spent a lot of time on the internet after this movie trying to figure out what the hell is happening because the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this makes no sense. So the version of events that I've pieced together based on lots of research is they took Daisy and Ben to this Tatooine location. It was in press interviews leading up to the release of the movie before the premiere. There's all these editing issues. Like they didn't get the final cut of the movie in to wherever you submit movies to. I don't know where that works until 2 weeks before the premiere. Like they cut it down to the wire. JJ apparently rewrote the ending 4 times, even after they'd filmed it, like trying to piece together this footage. So they did this last minute like reshoot. They just took Daisy, Ben, and like the minimal crew because it was supposed to be the super top secret ending. Like no one was supposed to know what happened. And Daisy had said in interviews leading up to it, like everyone on set was crying. The ending was going to be so beautiful. She was really happy with the way that it ended and like fans were going to love it. So the 2 of them see this scene that was cut together at the premiere and Daisy left before the credits rolled. She didn't talk to press. She refused to do any interviews after the premiere. Like there is no interview footage of anyone really, except for John Boyega, because he was like, let's burn this bridge after this movie. Like the whole cast just was kind of like, what the hell is going on? And so people on the internet have re-edited it to the way that it looks like these scenes were shot. And pretty much in those scenes in the Lars homestead, like they're cropped so awkwardly. They are tight on Rey when they make no sense to be tight on Rey. Like there is someone else in those scenes that was supposed to be there. And some of the footage almost looks like it wasn't shot with Daisy. It was just shot with a stand-in. And also, I mean, the ending makes no sense. The ending makes literally no sense. Why is she not? If she's going to see a Force ghost, she needs to see Ben's Force ghost because he died too. And he was a Skywalker. So that is...
He was a Solo.
I want the Rian Johnson cut of this movie. I want him to go back and re-edit it with the footage that was shot. I don't think we will ever get it, but I want the Rian Johnson cut. Or the Dave Filoni cut. I'll take either.
Oh my.
But yeah, I don't know what was going on. I wish they had pushed the release date. Like, yes, it would have pissed off millions of people, but I would have rather waited until January. What was it, 2019? 2020? What, I don't remember what year this movie came out. Yeah, so I would have rather waited until January, February 20 to have to see this movie. Or maybe they would release it now. They could have had 2 extra years to work on it if they had just waited a couple weeks.
Oh my
Yeah, I
God.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like, we could have been in such a better situation, but because there was no plan and no one could like make up their mind and just stick to it, JJ changed, from what I've gathered, JJ changed his mind way too many times in the editing process after stuff was already shot and just like boxed himself into the stupidest ending possible. We got Rey Skywalker. So I think there's another ending out there that we deserve.
They probably
to
got
see.
married. It's probably what happened.
I don't know if they got
Oh, but
married.
he's a solo.
I don't know if they got married. I feel like it was something to do with like closing out Anakin's chapter, still bearing the lightsabers, still, you know, paying homage, but there's something else that happens on Tatooine, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And that's my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. But something was not right with the press circuit of this. Like, no one was happy.
Yeah.
No one has agreed. Everyone basically has agreed not to come back to their Star Wars project after the way this ended, which is embarrassing to the franchise.
I agree 100%.
Here, here. Bethanne.
Okay. The moments. Okay. So I feel like I can tell how the movie was Frankenstein together if you look very carefully, because there's tonal shifts. And those tonal shifts really occur whenever you have the Han and Ben scene, the Luke and Rey scene is where I see it the most, because they feel like different movies to me. And they feel like better movies, personally. And so those scenes where they bring back the original cast, I've enjoyed those scenes because it feels like that was always in the cards and those delivered. But I also agree with what Leah is saying. Something had to go wrong in the editing, because the thing with this film, and I talked about it before, it feels so disjointed. And when you have world building type scripts and productions, you always run that risk. And this film was not only disjointed in like scenes and the way it was edited, it was disjointed in tone and story arc together. There was way too much happening. Did we even find out? Like, I don't remember them discussing what Finn was trying to tell Rey, nor do I really remember or care.
That's another stupid point that they had to answer in interviews afterwards. Like, I thought that it was. Yeah, so he's force sensitive. That's what J.J. Abrams said. And
That's
he's like,
stupid.
He literally says in an interview, I thought it was obvious. And I was like, no, it wasn't. Like, I thought he was trying to say that he was in love with her the whole time. But okay.
Yeah. It was
I'm
obvious
force sensitive.
It was obvious he was force sensitive. It was not obvious that's what he wanted to say.
No.
Like,
if you fucking left the Rian Johnson one, you would assume everyone was force sensitive. It was a stupid idea that all these mystery boxes everywhere. And, you know, it bothers me. This film bothers me because, like I said, it was in the middle of the series. I could give it a fine and move on, right? They just need to cover ground. But the fact that this is an ending, and I just have a thing like Lee was talking of, like, not respecting like the actors in it too, writing ones off that are really you built up, like Rose and Finn and Poe. You spent so much time building these really important characters that were so beautiful in Rise of Jedi. And then you just pretty much like throw them away because you want to throw in a stupid fucking Palpatine thing. Like, you could have built so much with them. And yeah, so that's my biggest pet peeve about this film. Besides Rey being a Palpatine, because they just basically threw out what the original great message was in Last Jedi. And like, if it was done in a different way, I might be open to it, but it's just the movie is kind of a mess with these bright moments where you kind of see where the original film was.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, the bits of the film that usually work the best all have Adam Driver in it.
He carries that movie.
He really does. And the stuff that, you know, the thing that really to me carries this movie is the actors doing the job. Like, the plot is not the most exhilarating thing is watching everyone interact to me. Like,
Mhm.
and normally in Star Wars, that's not my favorite part of it, but that's the best part of this movie. And normally that's like the 5th best part of a Star Wars movie, right? And that's kind of where I land on this film. It is my least favorite in the sequel trilogy. It is bottom tier, and it's only bottom tier because of the disjointed, clunky plot. It very much does remind me of Attack of the Clones. In terms of like how every now and then I'm just like, oh, one good scene. Okay, I'm gonna go back over here for 45 minutes. Oh, that one good scene. Cool.
Yeah.
In Attack of the Clones, I just fast forward through Anakin and Padme until we get to Geonosis, and then it's intriguing. Or Tatooine, I should say. And then it's intriguing. So behind the scenes, though, I'm glad you brought up what happened in this movie, because as we all know, Colin Trevorrow had his version, which the script has apparently leaked, and everything that I've seen from it is a much better wrap up.
Yes.
Overall,
I'm going to go read that script.
Character.
You should. It's really good.
There are storyboards out there that people have found and released, and some people have even started creating an animatic. I believe someone sent me a link to a YouTube video of the entire script, like animated.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And in that, Finn leads everyone to take back Coruscant, right? Like, this former stormtrooper is going to take back the old capital world of the Republic. That was the Empire, because the Hosnian system is gone. So we have to have a new place for political plays. Might as well take it back from the old heads. Ben Solo, Kylo goes on a fight and fights someone else and then like turns against him. His story was far more confusing to me from what I read. But then after Last Jedi, it seems that, they did kind of buy into the hate that was going around. And especially after Solo, right? That's when they were like, well, we're probably going to slow down on these Star Wars movies because we're just not sure what's going on. It's because you're doing bad calls, like releasing 2 Star Wars movies 6 months apart. Never do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Marvel. You can't get away with that.
No.
Star Wars are event films. Everyone has to be an event film, in my opinion. And Solo's an event film, but it's not. It's like the smallest level. Rogue One is a bigger event film because of the stakes they build in. But Kathleen Kennedy allegedly changed a lot of things that happened in the end. Did not want to see any Jedi show up. I believe what I read. Again, I read this on the internet, so I don't know if it's true, and I'm going to have to assume it's not, but I could see it based on how things could work at the time of where we were in reality. It was, I believe, right after Me Too, so they were pushing. It was still the early days of, well, we got to make a strong female lead, except it's been done for a long time, but, I'll acquiesce on that argument. In terms of what she wanted, she didn't want any male to come in and save Rey, is what I remember reading, because it would take away from her power.
But they did that.
Why the fuck
they
does
literally
Ben
did that?
Literally give his life to her. So that's why I'm like, okay, if that's one thing you want to do, then what's the point? But it was more of, she cared more about pushing Rey and Kylo. Like, that was the story that was important, right? Was the Rey, the Kylo, the Force, the dyad. That was where the chemistry and the intrigue really was. So they wanted to focus on that. And all these other characters that not everybody had fully bought into or had a tougher route in The Last Jedi, right? Basically, if you weren't Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, you weren't given a plot in this film at all. Like, what is Poe doing? He's fighting the First Order. Okay, what is Finn doing? He is fighting the First Order. They're all tagging along with Rey.
They're just side characters. That's all they are in this film.
I can't believe I'm saying
There's
this.
no character development.
C-3PO has more character development than almost any other character in this film.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3PO has one scene of character development. Rey has one scene of character development, and Ben Solo has one scene of character development. And that's about it. You get character development for Finn, I will argue, slowly throughout, but the whole him trying to tell Rey thing pulls me out of the movie, because again, it's not obvious that's what he wants to tell her. It's obvious he has the Force, though. You know, it's a feeling. What makes you say that we can do this? A feeling.
Feeling.
Okay. And if in case you weren't sure and forgot about The Last Jedi, it's reach out with your feelings, not with your hand. So rumor has it that that's kind of how things fell, and that the editing, when they were editing, they couldn't land on one that worked, and they couldn't land on one that felt right, or one that felt like it had the most whatever. And then it sounds like they got down to the point where they just argued, because I do believe I read rumors that there was a lot of creative differences between JJ and Kathleen Kennedy during this time, because
it makes sense, because remember how the trailers told us absolutely nothing? I get kind of concerned when I see that, because either they have an amazing, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either they have this incredible storyline that they can't highlight to you yet, or there's something wrong with the film.
Well, we didn't get a trailer until like July or August. It was really
and all it was
late.
the stupid Force flipping over back scene.
Yeah,
that was it. And then her showing, a black hood. That was it. That was the whole trailer.
I popped. But and then it's weird, because they did start out showing us nothing, and then like not too long after, it's Palpatine is back, and we're like, what? How? They're gonna explain it so well? No, they're not. So it's like wonderful. I will say I'm really happy they just jumped right into the Palpatine of it all in the first scene, like the first sequence. Really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, they're jumping right into it. I appreciate that. And then how he somehow returned. Well, that really ruined it for me.
I remember the crawl leaked like 24 hours for the movie, and I was like, there's no way that's the actual crawl. I was like, no one put that in a movie. And then it started actually crawling the theater, and I was like, oh no, this is the actual crawl.
Oh no. Yeah, I did not know that. If you had to rank The Rise of Skywalker, because we've been pretty harsh on it, and I'll say, as we said, I am warmer. I have to admit, I feel like we're now the old people from like the prequel era that hated on the prequels, now we're hating on the sequels. I kind of feel like we're there. But if I'm being honest, I also hate on the prequels and the original trilogy when I find big plot holes that bother me.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And if there's something that bothers me in a film, it's going to get dropped way down on the list. It's why Back to the Future 1 is my least favorite Back to the Future film. That whole incest situation is not cool to me. When you grow up in the South,
about that.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a very
I completely forgot about it.
Yeah. So that's why it's my least favorite one. It just weirds me out way too much. So now that means we've not ranked. I mean, we have. We've already said it at the beginning. I assume they're the exact same. Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Hell yeah. My people. That's what I'm talking about. And it's not that I hate Rise of Skywalker. I did for a while. And now I'm like, I just hate parts of it. I hate those parts real strongly.
If I'm ranking them all, it still beats out the Clone Wars movie and Attack of the Clones. And it might even beat out Phantom Menace, depending on the day.
It beats out Solo. I still want the Miller Brothers script.
I've only seen Solo once, confession, because
they left 3 weeks before end of production, and Ron Howard came in and did a bunch of reshoots.
Reshot 75% of what you saw on screen.
Yeah.
That movie you see was just shot mostly.
I forget
at
that
the
Solo exists most of the time. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. That may be the worst Star Wars film. It may be.
Not even close.
You don't think so?
No,
I
no,
mean,
no,
maybe
no.
Attack of the Clones is the worst.
I definitely think
and
it's
then
Attack.
it's
It's
and then
Attack of
it's
the Clones.
Solo. And then it's Solo for me.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe. I have to do a full rewatch of all 9, and I mean, Solo is definitely lower on the list. My biggest gripe with Solo is that if they released it a year after instead of 6 months after, it would have done way better.
Yeah, people hated on it for like no reason.
They hated on it because they hated Last Jedi. Everybody hates on the actor, but I see the same character. Exactly the same character, except he just hasn't become as jaded yet because, you know, it'll happen. Like
The
you
casting
see it.
is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Glover as young Lando was perfect, and we needed more
Perfect.
of that, which we're getting more of that on Disney Plus. So
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Lando series.
hopefully.
God dang. Hopefully that still happens. You never know.
I haven't heard anything about it in like 2 years, so we'll see.
I've only heard of something. The only things I've heard of is Acolyte and Mando, Boba.
I saw a rumor of a
Ahsoka.
Bo-Katan show today.
I've also seen that.
It's getting stronger and stronger. I don't know.
And then we have the
need
Anakin
that.
show too.
The Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan show, not the Anakin show. Yeah,
It's not the Anakin
That's-
show.
No, it's the
well,
Vader
it's kind
show.
of it's kind of the Anakin show in a way.
I hope this leads to a Vader show. Obi-Wan
That'd be
Kenobi.
sick.
I really want a horror anthology of Vader killing everyone.
I want it
That would
based
be
off
sick.
of the Vader Oculus game.
Ooh.
I can't think Vader Immortal
Ooh.
because that
Mhm.
that plot is really good. It's like him trying to still reach Padme and bring her back from the dead, like years after the events of her death.
Whoa.
It's dark.
Nice. That sounds a lot of fun. Out of 10, what would you give the Rise of Skywalker?
Bethanne. 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
Which is gracious, honestly. Because I think if I only watched the first 5 minutes, it'd be easily a 2 out of 10. But then there's some redeeming qualities to it.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 6 because it has the good scenes, but the score. I feel like the score impacts this one more than any of the other 2 in this trilogy. John Williams was like, "This is my last chance, and I'm going out with a bang on this one." And that is the one thing they did right in editing is they timed it perfectly with his score. 6.
6. I'm just gonna, because it's Star Wars, I'm gonna give it a 6.6. Just out of sheer love for the wars.
66.
Yeah, we can execute this movie too. That was so dark. Good. But when it comes to the sequel trilogy, where does it rank in the trilogy of trilogies of Star Wars trilogies? That's hard to say.
Are we ranking the trilogies in the order?
Now we're ranking the
trilogies.
trilogies against trilogies. Yeah.
It's always going to be OG, sequels, prequels as a whole.
That's my lineup too. I'd put sequels middle of the pack.
Yeah. Mainly
prequels at
because
the
we
bottom.
learned how to animate things in the time between the prequels and the sequels, and visually they are much more appealing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Some of
Again,
this-
why haven't we got the prequels remastered?
Because George won't let people do it. Guarantee you.
Come on, George, just let us update Jar Jar Binks, make him look a little better, man. Like, come on, make him make
That's all we
nice.
want.
If you want to add noodles, that's fine, but let's update Jar Jar. You know what I'm saying? My gosh, man.
And George is the enemy of his own people. Okay, the man took something that was great and then said, no, it can be greater, and ruins the childhood of all Gen X men living everywhere.
Yeah, and some boomers too, which just makes
And
me
some
laugh.
boomers.
But then there's my dad, who likes them all, loves them all. Not like me. He's not on the same level as me. He's like, yeah, I like him. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to go get tattoos of stuff. So I'm different. It's my least favorite trilogy by a lot. And it is because overall, I think each movie is probably in contention with being as good, if not better, than prequel movies as movies. But as a trilogy, the first this trilogy takes place over a single year. It takes place in less time than the other two trilogies. And at the same time, it's the most disjointed, confusing trilogy in a plot sense. So that's why, for me, overall, it's at the bottom. The prequels starts and ends. There's, and to be fair, with the prequels, you almost can't fuck it up.
So what you're telling me is you endorse killing young Padawans, because that's what I hear as you're talking. And you endorse the biggest atrocity, a full CGI Yoda. There's a problem there.
That's a war crime.
It's a war crime.
I love CGI Yoda.
I don't like him.
They need
it's
to
too many
him.
facial emotions.
They need to update him.
His mouth goes, and that's it. That's all the emotion.
And then his eyebrows move in a good Jim Henson way, and that's it. That's all I need.
I will say, the story of the prequel trilogy I like better, but only after having the Clone Wars lens. If we only had those 3 movies, I would not like them as much as I do. When we get all that extra background, the story is better than the sequel trilogy story by far, because we get to see it pan out later. But aesthetically, they're not great.
No, they do not look good, which is saying a lot, because that's what they were trying to do at the same time. That's okay. It's being redeemed in the volume now. Thank God for technology advancing. That does wrap up the trilogy of trilogies on the Star Wars sequel trilogy. We've put a lot of thoughts. We've put a lot of emotions out there. Star Wars, we still fucking love you, man. That's why we talk about the wars. That's why we complain about the things that bother us, because we want the wars to live eternally. And I never want them to stop making Star Wars, because I would literally go into withdrawals.
Do you think they're going to release another set of episodes? I
Well,
mean, my opinion. They should.
Ryan Johnson is supposed to be doing a trilogy at some point. It's been kept heavily under wraps. I think it's going to be a High Republic story, though. That's my gut feeling.
That's still going on.
Yeah, so now we got the timeline of the High Republic's all fucked up. So, Bethanne, to catch you up. So there's 3 phases of this High Republic book rollout, book and comic. So phase 1 is 1,000 years before episode 1.
Wait,
so we're
it's 1,000? I thought it was...
Oh, not 1,000. It's 500. 500? Yoda's really young, but Yoda's...
500 to 200 years?
It's a couple hundred years.
It's a lot of years.
That's phase 1. And we were kind of under the impression that there's 3 phases. They'd go in chronological order, and we'd kind of end when, episode 1 picks up, somewhere around there. So then they came out and they're like, hey guys, phase 1 is over. So we're going to tell you about phase 2. Surprise. It's 100 years before all these books you've been reading. And everyone's like, what? So my current theory now is phase 3 is going to happen after the sequel trilogy. Because I saw that on Twitter.
Ooh.
And I love that theory.
So the High Republic's going to end after.
It'd be Rey leading the Jedi into a new High Republic.
Oh.
I have nothing to base that on. That's just clearly they're not giving us a linear timeline in this project.
But we wouldn't get Ryan Johnson, if he's doing this project of the High Republic, we're probably not going to get Daisy Ridley back, because like you were saying,
she's not coming back.
All the actors were just done with it after Rise of Skywalker.
I think they
got to bring a new cast.
At this point, after enough time has passed, has said, if the story is right.
They'd work with Ryan again. There's no way they're ever working with JJ again.
No,
Yeah.
JJ's almost as bad as George Lucas in my book. He kind of
Yeah.
ruined it, you know?
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I hate to say it.
they should have got Filoni.
Yeah.
I would have.
You know what?
I don't
before
think
I
they'll
even saw
make
the
that
movie.
mistake again.
Oh my God. If they ever do episode 10, 11, and 12, Filoni and Favreau.
They have to. They absolutely have
Oh, yeah.
Like, give it,
Favreau has proven he knows
Mhm.
how to do a space western.
do like, another 10 years from now, bring everybody back with Filoni and Favreau after over a decade of setting up all this stuff on Disney Plus. I think they'd all be
Yes.
like, we'll do it for free.
Here's my cast. Here's my fan cast. You get Filoni and Favreau being the showrunners. You get Ryan Johnson coming in to help write the script. Then you get Robert Rodriguez to be the director of choreography and just direct the most amazing fight scenes ever. That's my fan cast.
I like that.
And then
That's
just
good.
throw in Roger Deakins as the cinematographer. Why not?
The cinematographer for Book of Boba Fett, the director of photography, is David Klein, and he started his entire career on Clerks with Kevin Smith.
Oh, really?
The
That's hilarious.
dude went from starting his career filming in a convenience store
In a
to being-
camcorder.
with a
That's
camcorder,
hilarious.
talking about
Working
like how
on
much
Star
they love
Wars.
Star Wars to working
Man,
on the Star Wars.
I love me some Kevin Smith. Weird
Man.
dude.
He recently said that the Book of Boba Fett on an episode of Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith, he was filming
Mhm.
Mando season 3 right at the time. And this will be the last thing. He said that his favorite episodes, they're like, oh, what's your favorite episodes? Which ones are you looking forward to? Like, which ones? And he just like 5, 6, 7. He's like, that's all I can say. And that was it. And I was like, ooh. And
Yeah.
after this week's ending, now I see it's like, okay, I
It's
feel
it's Bounty Hunter Avengers is what it
man.
is.
It's the Revenges.
The Revengers.
The
We're the
Revengers.
Revengers.
I'm getting revenge. Chrysanthemum, do you want revenge? See, Chrysanthemum wants revenge. Do you want some revenge, Fennec? Don't touch my buttons. Okay. Yeah. Plot holes that we found in the Rise of Skywalker, the whole movie. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Literally the entire thing.
No need to kid.
I still get annoyed that it was a kiss of gratitude.
No.
bothers me.
Yeah. I mean,
It wasn't.
if it didn't freaking end with him just disappearing, it would have been perfect. It would have been so perfect.
If they just called it the kiss of death, it would have been a lot better. But it is late. So, ladies, where can everyone find She Will Rock You Pod and yourselves on social media?
You can find us and all our links to listen on the various podcast platforms at shewillrockyou.com. You can find all our show notes and all the stuff that we've been doing, our patron saint gallery of all the women that we've chosen to be our saints of our show. You can find me personally on Instagram at leahelizabeth.j and on Twitter at Leah_ElizabethJ. Thanks to the inconsistent formats of these social media platforms. That's it. Bethanne?
To find me, you just look for Bethanne Tarpley. I'm the only one. So pretty easy to find. A good Tigger reference for
Yes.
all you out
I
there.
got that.
Hell yeah. I used to watch that movie every night when I was 10 to go to
Yeah.
bed.
Oh,
Aw.
we used to watch Winnie the Pooh a lot in my house. We were a Winnie the Pooh house before we were a Willem Dafoe house.
Glorious. We were a Tigger house, so.
Yes.
You can find me, all my links, linktree.com/TCRochesterACT. And of course, LightsThunderAction. All of our links can be found at linktree.com/LightsThunderAction. Reckless Rebellion, covering Book of Boba Fett. Also, we've covered it here on this episode a little bit. Next week, there will be not be a new episode of Lights Thunder Action. I will be busy elsewhere and hopping on Nerd Culture to talk about, you guessed it, Star Wars, Book of Boba Fett. So Gonna be an exciting time.
I already blocked off all my Thursdays through 2022. What am I gonna do? I just assumed it was a thing at this point.
You pick the movie. You know what? Y'all can pick the next trilogy and just come back on. And oh no, I just felt Twilight ring through people's brains.
No, under no circumstances.
Fun fact: I have not seen the 2-part Breaking Dawn.
Oh,
I only saw like the first one and half of the second one.
I've never seen a Twilight movie. I see Twilight every day.
Can we do like Thor before we come out to the new
Love
one?
and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Yes.
So we do the first 3 because that could count, right?
It could. Oh, it definitely would count. And only one of those movies is great.
Yes.
Yeah. I really just want to talk about one movie and one director named Taika Waititi. Any point.
I will say, watching Thor Ragnarok made Thor Dark World and Thor 1, the story of it and his journey, way better.
Yeah.
At the end of that movie, when he's sitting on the throne and the music's playing, I'm like, oh, that's how you complete a trilogy. Wow. And
it was a hard reboot. But it was so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I like that he's all like pompous and then he hangs out with Tony Stark. Of course he's got to become a son of glass. Like, it's perfect. Like you said, no, there's no mysteries that can't be solved except this one. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the show as always. Thank you for joining us. We'll see y'all next week. This has been episode 76 of Lights, Thunder, Action. Au revoir.